Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Free Agents Podcast. Back today to talk some more Traitors. Traitors Season 4, Episode 6. We're going to talk about it all from this episode and from the whole season because we have another great guest with us. Before I bring him in, of course, I am Matt here with Brian Scally. Brian effing Scally. Scally, what's up?
Hello. I'm good. I'm excited. I feel like even in just a little bit of time since we last talked, there has been quite a bit going on in the world of the Traitors. So I'm very excited to be here, obviously talking about all of that, and even more so to talk to the guest that we are speaking to today.
Yes, very excited to get this person's takes. Of course, again, just real quick though, if you haven't checked out our episode recap, check that out on the podcast feed, the Free Agents podcast feed, to hear us fully break down everything that happened in the episode. But today we're talking to this guy to get all of his takes on the season and everything going on. It is Survivor's own Zach Wurtenberger. Zach, what's up?
Thank you, Matt. And I really want to set up. Like, I don't want you to think of me as a survivor, okay? I'm just Zach.
Just Zach. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
It is Zach's own. This is the Wurtenberger's own Zach.
Yeah.
How's it going, Zach?
It's going good. I'm so happy to be here. I haven't actually podcasted about the Traitors since I think the last time that you guys had me on.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's a show I really enjoy. I get to talk a lot about Survivor, Big Brother, all that stuff. But the Traitors is just so fun. And I'm really excited to have a new season, even if it's kind of a mess.
See, I'm not sure if I knew before we, reached out to you to see if you would come on. I was like, I can't remember Zach's positioning on enjoying the show, given there's a lot of people who have complaints about the format of the game, right? And I thought you might have been one of those people, but I'm glad to hear you enjoy it still.
No, I was, and I am.
Okay.
I think the format
My memory
of the
didn't
game.
fail.
I think the format of the game is inherently flawed, and I think that we've seen season after season the boring people make it to the end, and all the exciting people cannibalize each other. And I think that being a faithful that is like strategic and really like it's so hard. I just think it's so hard and it's so luck dependent. That being said, I've learned to embrace the chaos and not take it too seriously. And that's kind of where I come at it from. Like, I don't treat it as this strategic game that I might with Survivor. I more so treat it as just like a entertaining thing that I get to watch each week.
And I should have known that. I know you're a Drag Race guy as well, so you're into Campy TV. So.
And you know what? Drag Race kind of lost me because it's just so much. It's too much. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And because I watch a couple international seasons, but I really just keep it US only, and it's like once per year. I'm still in that like campiness. I'm still in that like fun, ridiculous like drama that this show can bring.
I would think it's like very close, much less Survivor, much more like House of Villains. And like, yeah, there's a strategy show going on, but like I'm here for the drama, the entertainment. I'm not going to necessarily be criticizing the move every single person is making every week and only evaluating on my enjoyment on the show based on that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, we've all talked 100 times about how like there's no reason to get the traitors out, because if you figure out who a traitor is, you just keep them until the end. Like, it's a flawed game. But that's a boring conversation to have every single year. So
exactly.
You try to keep them in, you hold them hostage, whatever the case is. However you gotta, keep them in the game.
You put a tracker on their car.
Oh,
that
boy.
way you can follow them wherever
Zach, coming into the season, I'm very curious. Of course, there's some Survivor people here. I'm sure you knew the Big Brother people. I'm pretty sure you knew Monet as well. But anybody else in this cast, people that you were familiar with?
Yes. Yeah, obviously, like for me, the number one interest was just seeing Rob back again. Like, that was, with a bullet. Jam Jam, I was obviously super excited about. And yeah, the Survivors and Big Brothers. Who else did I know? I knew. I definitely knew who Michael Rappaport was.
Well,
I was very aware.
Anyone you knew that you were excited for.
I was excited for. I like Dancing with the Stars. I was excited to see Mark, even though I kind of predicted he was going to be a little bit more of a back row character. And the other one that I really did know and like really did love on their season, funny enough, was Rob R. Because that Love Island season, I did go all in on. I really enjoyed it, and I felt like he was like the star of stars from that season. It was him and PPG. And he just provided so much drama, so much ridiculousness, and And yeah, like, so I actually was really excited to see him, but I didn't think he was going to provide that much just because we'd never gotten to see him in like a strategy game format. I thought he was also someone who could just fade into the background, but he definitely is not.
Any surprise that he's the one that makes it to the Traitors first from that cast?
No, no, I don't think so.
Did
I
you?
think
Did you?
that like,
Yeah,
hmm?
I was gonna say, did you check out any of Beyond the Villa from that season?
It was, I
Spinoff.
watched an episode. It was so terrible. It was so
Yeah,
boring. And then
he's.
all of a sudden they got interesting with Janae and Kenny, and then they
Mhm.
stopped the show.
Yeah,
Like the
and
moment
Kenny's.
that something actually interesting happened, the show is over.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think that like Rob was 100% the right pick from that group. He was just like he was so dramatic, and you could also tell he was like a little bit of a schemer. I don't know. I think that he was like such a great pick.
Yeah, Robbie Bobby is wreaking havoc in this castle right now. He is definitely giving the main character. I'm gonna stop, Zach. I've been asking the past couple of weeks of Dancing with the Stars tracker, like who's the most likely to become the breakout star of the season and go on to have that Dylan Efron success on a Dancing with the Stars type show. I'm not gonna ask that anymore. It's Rob Roush.
Yes, yeah.
That's the answer.
He's so like charming and likable and all the stuff with Ron this episode and how he was like the one guy standing up for him and he's like just a beautiful man too. Like I really we say that every season, like, oh, Boston Rob, like wait, like surprising, but like Rob R is like genuinely like just a specimen.
Yeah, I mean,
Like he's just
I mean,
perfect. Like he really
that's
is. This is a guy who like should be a movie star.
Lisa Rinna was on social media this week saying like people have such a hard time with Rob because they can't even look at him. It's like blindingly beautiful. They like look at him for a little bit and they have to look away, and so they can't pick up on things. She, of course, looks at her husband Harry Hamlin all the time, so she has no issue. But everyone else, big issues looking at Rob for too long.
And he also has the thing where he's like on social media and he's got like, a million followers, something like that. But he only posts like snake
Yep.
videos and he seems down to earth too. And like that's how he comes off on the show. So yeah, like he is a breakout star if there's ever been one.
Yeah, big episode again for Robbie Bobby, who has a couple of friends in the castle here that he's trying to maintain his relationships with, maintain his alliances with. Which I'm not surprised to hear him talking about the game in this sense. We said that he was going to be a gamer, and Zach, after a couple of weeks of harmonious times up in the turret, not so much anymore.
Yeah, I think that that's been probably my biggest disappointment of the season so far has been that like the Traitors, there's just so little going on in terms of the actual decisions that they were making, and part of that was the whole Donna Kelsey nonsense. Um, but now, I mean, this is what I'm looking for. I almost kind of wish that you guys had brought me on next week because that's where all this stuff is going to go down because we didn't actually get the turret moment. But yeah, I love that he was willing to vote for Lisa. I love that like he stood his ground when they were coming for him after. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is what I love. This is why season 3 of The Traitors was far and away my favorite one because I just absolutely love the Carolyn versus Danielle versus Rob versus Bob. Like, that's really what I watched this show for. So we've got it.
Yeah.
We finally got it.
That's so it's like they've barely been in the turret, and when they have been, it's been copacetic and nice and easy. But now, when there's going to be a little bit of drama, there's been so many murders in plain sights and twists and turns that we don't even get the fallout anymore because they have to whisper quietly in a kitchen.
Right.
Zach, what about Lisa? Lisa Rinna, the downfall of her game is clearly a main storyline happening right now. She wasn't gotten this week, gotten out of the game, and her confessional I thought was actually really comedically placed, where she's like, "Oh, as long as not enough people vote for me, even if Colton's going to come for me, that's fine." Cut ahead to one vote being the difference of her going out or not. But it just feels like as inevitable as Ron going out was this week or sometime soon, it's either this upcoming week or the one after. Lisa's got to be done.
Yeah, she kind of so Lisa reminds me a lot of, and you're gonna have to remind me his name, but the Celebrity Traders guy, the one who it was like the old like fate, like the guy who was like
Oh,
the big leader.
yeah, the counterpart to Stephen Fry.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I
Jonathan.
know
Was it Jonathan?
Jonathan, I believe. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
she
look that up.
reminds me of Jonathan in the sense of like she obviously takes up a lot of room and is like a big personality there. But like when it comes down to it and you're looking at the all right, who are the most likely for them to make traders, she's always just gonna like kind of hit that buzzsaw and it's coming up faster than it would have because Colton's so willing to like throw her name out there. So it's similar to Boston Rob too, where it's like sooner or later you just gotta like see if
You,
Boston
yeah.
Rob's a traitor or not, you know. I liked her a lot this episode. I liked her reactions to Colton, and I liked that she was getting into the fights. I think it would have been. I really think that when it came to the choosing of the traitors, really could have been either her or Candace. I don't think we needed both because I think that like if you're gonna put two housewives in together, it's got to be two housewives that are going to like fight with each other. Like there's so many beasts in the housewife world. Why did we not get it? And I'm totally fine with having two housewives in the turret. They just shouldn't be harmonious housewives. Like
Yeah.
this should have been like a real source of conflict.
It could have been Candace and Portia, and they
Yeah.
they did seem to be friendly, but give it long enough, and they would have not been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think as far as God, what was I about to say? Uh
Talking about Lisa being
Lisa, yeah. As far as Lisa, the problem is I think that the traders, I would say more specifically, like Candace has really been pushing the like, all right, like we don't want to start like throwing out too many names. We don't want to start like changing and flip-flopping. And once a name is out there, we really got to focus on it. I think that may end up coming back to bite them a little bit here with Lisa because it feels like there's now only so many names out there. Lisa's name is up for talks, and it's going to be very difficult to like, okay, but now why this time do we not have to follow through? Like, why this time are we not going to continue to pull that thread? So I think that the game that they probably were pushing a little bit in the house may end up being Lisa's downfall.
I mean, I wouldn't counter out though, because I feel like we've seen time and again, like these people who are like right on death's door. Seems like their like name is marked. I'm thinking of like Coco from
Yeah.
the recent Canada one. Like they are able to slither back in as long as there is like a big enough distraction, a big enough blow up that that can come up. Like I think that for instance, Colton is such like a lightning rod of attention right now that I think she very easily could survive like you know, let's get Colton out this week because he is playing too big of a game right now. And then she could
Yeah.
survive again when it's like, well, why are we sitting here letting Dorinda keep going? Like she returned. Like, you know,
I was
I
about
think
to
there
ask
are
about
like outs.
Dorinda. I want to talk about Dorinda. Zach, she has been not, I guess, as highlighted, or she was a little bit with the Colton and Lisa situation. Colton kept going to her and saying, "What do you think about Lisa?" She's like, "That's my friend." Maybe she's acting a little suspicious, but again, that's my friend. I agree with you 100% that I think at some point Dorinda's number is going to come up. She was here last season. If there's a world that Lisa goes first, they still might be looking at her saying, well, you didn't vote for her, you didn't really like push her on the table just because she's your friend, whatever the case is. But how do you think she's going to play this? It honestly feels to me like she is trying to play the game in a way that I don't think I expected. I expected her to just come in and be a fun personality, but I feel like she's trying to play the game. So either regarding Lisa's probable upcoming banishment or after that, any thoughts on where Dorinda goes from here?
Dorinda, I mean, okay, so full whatever with this because I know I'm not a big housewife fan. I've learned a lot more of the housewives through this show and through some friends. Like, so I'm much more familiar with them. I feel about Dorinda the way that like I'm sure that all of the non like all the housewife fans felt about like Sandra on season two,
Sure.
where it's like, oh, Sandra comes out, oh my God, this is a legend. This is like a survivor legend. She's gotten all these fights. She's so iconic. She has all these one-liners. And then I'm watching her on like this new show, and I'm like, I thought she was gonna be like the big fighter. I thought that she was really gonna like provide the drama. That's why we brought her back a second time. Like everyone was like, oh my God, what a huge loss Dorinda is. And then she hasn't provided any fights other than whatever she did to Ron that
Yeah.
makes him hate her so much that I really want to know about because he is saying a lot, making a lot of accusations about how disgusting of a person she is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that Dorinda's path is really just the fact that there are two housewife traitors. And if they can get those two out before her and it's revealed, hey, housewife traitor, I think that provides a lot of protection to the remaining housewives. Now they might get murdered, and that's a whole other issue for Dorinda. But I really think that like if Lisa goes before Dorinda, that's a level of safety that she now has. And then especially if Candace does, it's really like, all right, well, would they make all of the traitors this season housewives? I don't think so. Let's start looking at the Robs, the Marks, the Kristens, the bigger skaters, you know.
Yeah.
I'm thinking with Dorinda, first of all, with everything going on with Ron, she should probably hope she continues to stay under the radar in terms of the Traitors. But I'm wondering if it is one of two things. Either like is Dorinda truly being like awful and they're editing out all the bad behavior and there's nothing left to show. And so maybe that is a possibility. Or is this Dorinda goes out first last time and it convinces her where in the first season she's on, she's pretty boisterous, she's loud, everyone's thinking she's definitely going to get banished at the first round table. She learns from that, comes back even only with 12 hours of play on the Traitors. She comes back with like a little bit of history, a little bit of game knowledge, at least more than she did going in, and she's playing like a much quieter, more conservative, almost Lisa Rinna-esque game where she's playing it much more careful, and we're not getting the Dorinda that we would have gotten. And is this an argument for maybe not bringing people back in on their second try so fast?
Yeah.
I would be much more willing to go along with that if the confessionals and the evidence existed of her making those claims and her like saying, look, last time I was way too much. This time, it literally, I mean, that's what we got with Tony in Winners at War, right? Like, and that obviously that's because spoilers, he won. But so like we've got that story, and I'm not getting the sense that Dorinda's going to be our winner. But for me right now, I was promised with her drama. That's what I came to expect. Kind of like with Ron, I was promised comedy, and we didn't get that from
You'd think, yeah.
Right. So for me, Dorinda as a returnee has not paid off.
Yeah.
The way that I was hoping that she would, because everyone was so excited and so I honestly think they should have brought Chanel back instead of Dorinda, because I can guarantee you that Chanel, like from what I've seen of her, would be giving us a lot more sound bites right now.
The all-star list that we need is really been growing every time, every passing season. We keep adding to it. And Zach, outside of Dorinda, I want to bring in the two survivor players that still do exist in the castle. Natalie and Jam Jam are the other ones that were left out of this giant faithful alliance that was attempted to be formed in this episode. Definitely curious to get your takes on how Natalie and Jam Jam are doing.
I think they're probably too interesting to be part of the group of faithfuls that got chosen there, because they are very entertaining people. I think that it's unfortunate that like Natalie has been so under edited on this season, because she's like, we know Natalie and she's such a get. Jam Jam, I do think we've been getting a lot more of, and I'm a big Jam Jam fan. I'll always love him. But like when he's sitting there and he's voting for Ron, and I'm like, oh my God, come on. I do think that like if there's anyone that might be like, I know how big of a Housewife fan he is. So
Jam Jam is?
I believe so. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, Jam can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I do think that he is a Housewife fan. So I think there might be an element of, well, if I'm not sure between Lisa and Ron right now, let's get the guy out that that I don't want to hang out with after this.
It just given this alliance, and it's funny because we've been talking a lot about how Natalie seems like she's in a pretty good spot, especially Jam Jam's been his name has come up a decent amount over the course of the season so far, so I've never had that much hope for him. But it does feel like, especially given how this group is forming, the two of them are just kind of biding their time until they're going to get banished eventually. I think the anti-gamer sentiment is just too strong.
See, I do think that there is an element of, it's funny you say you think Natalie's going to do better than Jam Jam, because I've gotten the sense that Jam Jam's going to do much better than Natalie. I think that the issue for both of them, I think that they're both astute enough players to actually rally and flip votes whenever their names are on the chopping block. I think they're both really good at that. I think Natalie's issue is going to be that no one's suspecting her whatsoever, and she's going to be an easy murder candidate whenever the time comes where they just need another, like, oh, what's one we can cause confusion with?
Yeah.
Right. Versus Jam Jam, it's like there's so much of his name out there that they're not going to want to murder him.
I think I would bet on Jam Jam to go further, but Natalie to be more likely to win. Where you see people who are a little bit quieter in the edit or something like that, and so just like strictly almost like editing wise, like how much they've come up, I feel like Natalie could like be a part of a group of faithful that just happens to win. I don't think probably she's getting recruited to be a traitor at this point. I think Jam Jam, that's like maybe on the table, but I just think we are seeing the Jam Jam banishment at some point, and that might be much later in the season than Natalie, but I think it's happening.
Yeah, I think one of the problems for Natalie at this point, and I actually, Zach was just saying in our episode recap, I feel like Natalie's not a candidate for the murder that's about to happen here because the line of thinking that I'm trying to do, at least to comfort myself and not be worried for the rest of the week that I don't want Natalie to get murdered, is that it seemed like Rob Roush was directing Lisa to not murder someone who voted for Lisa, which Natalie did. So I'm like, okay, if that's the case, Natalie is safe. But then I did remind myself at the end of the episode, you have Natalie not confronting, but like discussing with Lisa again, being like, so did you understand why I thought that? And Lisa being like, no, I didn't actually, Natalie. So there just could be a little bit of tension there. And if they don't go for Colton, if that feels too obvious or whatever the case is, I unfortunately might have talked myself back into being afraid for her safety.
Yeah, you know who I think is the brooch candidate that I think would be the best one? That'd be awesome. I think it's Mora.
No.
How fun would that be?
No.
How fun would that? If it's like, all right, you know what, Rob, like you're gonna betray me. Like I'm gonna go like gun straight for your girl. Like the Lisa Rinna like revenge arc on that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I could definitely see it. I feel like Mora, we said we were going to narrow it down to just Rob on Dancing with the Stars, but I feel like Mora's really been popping up all over the place as well. I don't know if it, like, I don't feel like I've seen this very much with past contestants where I think I've had 15 different paparazzi shots of Mora wearing couture all over the city. Like, she's nonstop making appearances everywhere. So I think Mora's definitely been popping her head up a little bit. I think I even saw people being like, she getting eliminated this very week for the past week because she was around so much. So I don't know what it is, but I think Mora would be a very interesting kill. I really wish we were going to get Mora at a round table. I don't think that they're going to suspect her, but I would love to hear her have to defend herself because I know she'll bring it.
Yeah, Mora can't be banished or removed from the game until this beef with Jam Jam is settled. We'll talk about the mission because we haven't done that yet. But when she's out there and Jam Jam is again considering taking the shield and she's in confessional, like Jam Jam really wanted the shield. Like, I don't know what's up with this guy, traitor behavior. So I don't know. This isn't like a lot, but going back to the first couple of missions or what was the second one, she's got her eye on him. They were friends at the start, and it seems like it's falling apart or it's fell apart. So
yeah, I mean, I get what that's like when you just kind of have like a suspicion about someone and you really like just can't stop until you see it through. I feel that a lot when I play Blood in the Clock Tower. Sure. There's just that feeling of like, all right, this is my theory and I'm not going to be happy until they're gone. I think that the whole shield thing, it's just, I don't, it was the same with Janelle on her season. Like, obviously people want the shield. If you are a traitor, you want the shield. If you're faithful, you want the shield. Like the traitors are just pretending to want the shield. So I mean, you could be mad at them and you can like whatever, but how is that traitor behavior?
Yeah. Why did Natalie look like she was in trouble for what she said? Mora was like, did you hear Natalie? She said, if you get a shield, then you're going to be banished tonight, as if like that's what a traitor would do. I mean, I get the idea that like a traitor would want people to not take shields so that they get, but like everyone in the room was saying, let's not take a shield. Let's not be selfish. Let's add money to the prize pot. But for some reason, it was a big deal for Natalie to say it.
No, I saw that point actually. And I think that was a better thing to point blame to than wanting a shield yourself. Because anything that's like, hey, we're all going to banish this person if they do it, could feel like, oh, they're trying to direct votes in a way that Shield is specifically wanting to get protection. Scally, did you have anything on that? Or because there was actually just one point that made me think about.
Oh, no, why don't you go ahead first?
Yeah, so one thing that I've really noticed this season that's actually been very frustrating and has been one of the reasons that like, I think it's just because we don't have the gamers, really. We've got only 2, and they're like so outnumbered compared to last season, is these faithfuls are putting so much attention onto what is happening at the round table, and it feels like almost no care or consideration into who is murdered at night. Because the round table is where everyone votes. The vast majority of what happens at the round table is faithful on faithful violence.
Yes.
Right? The murder is the one thing that you can point to and be like, this is a sole decision of the traitors. So I really think that, like, I don't understand why there's so much attention on the Michael vote, the Tiffany vote, and the Portia vote, and no attention on the Rob murder, the Ian murder, the Caroline murder, Monet. Like, they really aren't unless they're not airing them, they're not having the conversations about like who would do this.
That's interesting, and it's not even because you would think very often the person murdered is someone who's like a little bit quieter, a little bit background, maybe doesn't have ties, and so they're never going to come up out of banishment. But if we looked at who's been like murdered so far, Ian, Rob, Caroline, Monet, I wouldn't really say any of the four of them qualify as like an unattached, easy murder. So I feel like there is a whole lot more discussion to be had there.
Yeah, I mean, I would think to myself, not gamer, which to be fair, none of the gamer. Well, no, Tiffany was banished. I don't see why. Like the fact that like a Big Brother person was the first murder, and that was the only other Big Brother person. I mean, I think that should just be like. I mean, that
the meta of it has bounced all over the place. I think at this point, people that would say, "Oh, this person wouldn't vote out a Big Brother player because they're from Big Brother," but they would. We've seen like just all sides of that play out. Where yes, they would vote out a housewife if they're a housewife. Yes, they would or wouldn't, and so on and so forth. So I feel like they're really having a hard time nailing down those kind of metas. They have come up in small ways, where you have Tiffany saying that when she's about to get banished, I would not have gotten rid of one of my people. Natalie says in this episode, I would not get rid of a Survivor player early on, as Ian and Rob were both two of the first ones out. So, well, Ian's not a Survivor player, but basically, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is always fun to figure out how they are going to come to their conclusions, especially when you get to a roundtable like this one, where you have going into it. Well, we don't actually know if Ron is a traitor or not, but we're still going to get him out of here anyway. Zach, you want to talk about Ron Funches? Any thoughts on his time on this season?
Yeah, I think it was such a emotional drain, honestly, on the whole season. It was very sad to watch. He seems like a lovely guy. It's tough when you just watch someone who you can so clearly tell is not having fun.
Yeah.
And so much attention is on them. That's also why the Michael Rappaport episodes were just like come on, like let's get this guy out of here. Ron was like, I really think that he just got off on the wrong foot. And I mean, obviously, I'm watching from the point of view of somebody who knows who the traitors are, but like that, that was not a traitor. What we saw, like someone that depressed and that like miserable the entire game, and then you have him on social media afterwards, and he's talking about how it was like traumatic, and it was like, I mean, he was kind of funny with it. I just saw his like stand up thing that he did.
Yep.
About the traitors. So I'm glad he's making the best out of it. But like,
I'm assuming it was funny.
It was funny. Yeah.
The show hasn't been so funny. I've said this a couple times already this season. I really enjoyed Ron here, just like getting to really be introduced to him for the first time, at least for me. But it wasn't fun nor funny as you would expect a comedian to be on the show, and that's just obviously due to the circumstances of how his game went. Are we assuming that we were going to talk about Peacock put out a bit of a statement, or the show itself put out a bit of a statement earlier today about the way that fans are reacting to the show and to certain contestants? Do we think that that's specifically Ron or Colton or all of the above?
My first reaction was like, what are people, because I haven't been on that much on social media lately, but I felt like it was very like, what are people saying to Ron? Like, I know he's having a really hard time with this. Like, what is that possible?
Yeah.
And then it was pretty clearly pointed out, like, I feel like the person who's had the most negative reception pretty consistently has been Colton. And like, maybe that this is much more
Colton and Rappaport.
Well, yeah, but that person being off the show, the person welcoming the arguments online, I don't know. So my guess is it's Colton, less Ron, but I don't know.
And it's like, do we think
I just hate that? Yeah, I just hate that Colton is being harassed.
So miserable. Shout out to David Bloomberg. I'm reading on the Instagram post that the Traitors put up, and David is, to me, the top comment here. He said, I agree with what they were saying, and a further suggestion, maybe you shouldn't cast people who have/continue to make other people feel unsafe through their words and or actions.
Yeah, I mean, I think a really good point is like, where was this last year when Danielle was getting death threats?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it says a
Yeah.
lot about generally like, you know, who people feel the need to protect and who people don't necessarily. I do think that Danielle is someone who's kind of been through this before, and so she's probably not contacting Peacock for like as much support. She's, you know, firing back shots on Twitter, but I don't think that that means that she shouldn't get the same protection and like instinct from Peacock. Where I think Colton or other people on this cast who have not necessarily had it on this scale, on this type of show, whatever, are more likely to reach out for, what the hell do I do? This is what I'm getting. Can you please say something?
Yeah. I mean, it's better late than never, but it's still like, I don't know. And it's also, I always think like nobody that's listening to this, I don't think, are the people that are being addressed here. You would hope.
Yeah.
But it's a lot.
I mean, we're in this era now where like, I feel like every reality show puts this statement out at least once a year. It's almost like obligatory because it's like, it's just what happens. We saw it on Love Island season 7 when fans were so psychotic for that one. I feel like we saw it for Big Brother probably at some point or another in the past year. You know, it's just, this is just the thing that reality TV shows post. I think obviously, again, goes without saying, do not harass Colton. Like, do not harass anyone that you see on reality TV. That being said, Colton should not have been cast for this show. So it's like, and it's such a shame because Colton is doing, to me, very interesting things strategically that I would love to like be able to break down. Because I think that this episode was his best episode, and I think there were really like so much drama that just came from Colton, but it all is with the precursor of, but he shouldn't be on the show because he allegedly stalked his ex-girlfriend.
Zach, you haven't played Goose Goose Duck with us in a while, but the way that I'm kind of equating Colton's current gameplay to is when someone passes you the bomb and you have like 3 seconds left. And if you have a killing power, you're about to do something. You want to do something to make an impact on your way out. And he knows the bomb is about to explode, but he hasn't done anything successfully, I guess. He's trying to take the successful shot at Lisa on his way out. And again, he has the right read. He has the right person, but he's really willing to, as he says, I will take you down with me if I'm going down.
Yeah, and look, I thought that that's a very good comparison to it. I think that the traitor holding the traitor hostage, other than the verbiage of that, that's so fun. If you like last season, if we saw I don't know, Brittany do that, right? Where she was like, I know, we would love it. And I loved it on the show. I loved him going straight up to Lisa and being like, you protect me in the round, I'll protect you in the round table, you protect me in the turret. Like that is so ballsy. And she's like,
wait, what?
Yeah. I saw apparently she does this face where she's like, and that's how you know she's lying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was a super fun move. I love, even though it came at the expense of Tiffany, and I like hated that happened, and I didn't enjoy that episode. I do love the faithfuls that are willing to just be loud and like give us TV compared to, I mean, we can go down the list, right? Kristen, Steven, Johnny, Tara, Eric gave us a little bit actually. Johnny had an interesting. Steven, I think I even said Steven. I just think he's so irrelevant that
we still forgot about him.
He didn't even,
Well, that's a great way. I also wanted to obviously go there too. Johnny Weir is pulled in this alliance that actually does include 2 traitors. He's got Candace and Rob on his radar, people that he wants to pull in. Zach, or all of us here, I want to just imagine a world where this is the final 9, I think is the amount of people.
Yeah,
whatever it is, this is the final group of people that everyone else is out of the game. We're down to the 2 traitors there, and all of these faithful. Actually, let's take it even a step further. Say they get Candace out of here. I don't think that they're getting Rob next. Who the hell are they voting out? They can't go to the end. And like last season, they won 4 faithfuls. They all knew each other were faithful. And it feels like this group all feels very confident that each other are faithful. Now, granted, at that point, if it was just Rob left, he'd probably have a chance to recruit, and maybe they pick up on someone's habits or being a little different or whatever. But I'm just like looking at this group. If nothing else changed about what's going on, who the hell are they banishing?
That's so
Mark
hard
Dallas?
to say when I feel like we've gotten hardly any of them on the show, let alone like suspicion on the show. I think it probably you would default to just like social voting at that point.
Can I do my like
please.
impression of that that final 8 round table?
I would love it. Oh no, but this is a podcast. We have to talk. So I would love it. Point taken.
Well, I
Yeah.
have to start. Well, okay. Okay. Would anyone like to start?
I need to know if there's like how much editing is involved there. Like truly, how much time is it that no one is saying a word? Because I can
Mhm.
believe that it's as long as it is, but
Yeah, I feel like there's been a couple of roundtables where I've been like, "Oh, I want to go back to like take a note," and I'm like, hit 10 seconds back. Oh, I have to go back further. Oh, I have to go back. Like, why is there 30 seconds of silence in the edit of the episode? Like, it
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
crazy. I get the point, but I think that it's tough because for a good number of these people, like they would be doing the right thing. The show has put the on this show where they're pretty alone outside of, like Johnny and Tara have each other, but a lot of them are very not connected. They're not the most exciting person on the cast. So they should probably be pretty boring. Just link up with the other boring people and vote together. But that's not going to be good TV, and
Yeah.
I don't want to watch it.
and I still love that we call them boring people, considering like the amount of love and fan support out there for Mark Ballas as a person, for Kristen
Oh, yeah.
Kish as a person. People love Johnny Ware and Tara
Oh my
Lipinski,
God.
but they're just on this show like
Oh,
making little noise up until now. I would say at least.
I would say at least like 3 of my favorites on the show are in those like quote unquote boring people, but
Yeah.
like just because Maura and like Kristen and like I love Candace, I love Kristen for things outside of the show. It doesn't mean that I think that like she's been electric on it so
Yeah.
far.
Hey, but here's the thing for me is that you can be not a strategic person or someone who's like kind of floating throughout, not impacting the strategy, and you can still be MJ. Okay. MJ was so great.
Sure.
She gave us so many moments throughout the season that even though like when it came to the strategy of it all, it wasn't like she was a mover or a shaker. Like there was I love her and I'm so glad that they put her on the show and she provided like one of my favorite moments of the whole thing at the end, like with the whole blindside MJ, like, like that
Yep.
is
Yeah.
awesome. So when we're casting these people who aren't the strategists, which is fine, they don't all need to be strategists. There needs to be more of them so that we don't have like basically 10 people who don't speak every episode. Get more of like the MJs, get more of the personality. Well, no, I won't
Yeah.
even say Colton because Colton truly is a strategist. Like he is playing hard.
Yeah.
Get outside of the gamers, like just make sure that they're entertaining TV. And I mean, it's just
Or
not
just
happening with Stephen Coletti.
I know it's a very common take, or I think it's a common take, that people say that they need to introduce more roles within the faithful, just to give more people something to do other than just
Yeah.
like, I'm good. I don't have to worry about anything besides figuring out who I can trust.
It's hard. I feel like it starts to complicate the show, especially for people who are much less casual and not coming from
That's fair.
like a Survivor, Big Brother background. I don't know how into it they get, especially when the one attempt we've had at that is the Seer, which we've thought was completely broken
Horrible.
and not fun.
Mhm.
So I would be a little bit worried as to the direction that this could go. I do agree that I think they need to do a little bit better job of you get this person who's a big name, but like maybe still make sure they're popping in casting and not necessarily going to be a little bit quieter here. Like, do they pop on their show because that show works for them, or are they going to pop in the Traitors as well?
Yeah.
So that's a little worrying. I would argue a little bit with like using MJ as an example. At this point in the season, would we have said like MJ, what a star? She's been bringing it nonstop. She might have had 1 or 2 moments, but I don't know. So I think that it's possible that some of these people like could bring that still further in the season, could have their moment, but not so far for a majority.
But it's also such a consistent issue with this show is
Yes.
that these are the people who make it to the end. And yeah, you're right. Like they could be MJ or they could be
Lord
what
Ivor.
was Lord Ivor. Yeah, that's the perfect example. There's so many people that just make it to the end that are complete zeros. And I think I honestly think this is by far the worst cast of like the 3 seasons, not including season 1. Because season 2 and season 3, I mean, just had such stacked people. So that even when we did lose a lot of the people that I was really rooting for, like, before the final 2 or 3 episodes, there were still enough that were in there that gave me something to root for. And at this point, it's going to be, it really is hard for me to see who that's going to be in the end game that I'm still going to actually care about.
Yeah. Obviously, we've also talked a lot about, the metas right now about gamers and housewives being like such obvious people that people go after. And this group is largely everybody extra. So the extras category was pretty similar last season. I guess Dolores kind of snuck in there, but you had the one bachelor person, you had Zac Efron's brother. Yeah, I'm going to call him that. And Lord Ivor. So it's like, you get rid of people that you're like, Brittany Haynes never stood a chance at the end, even though she was, converted to a traitor. It's just, even if she was still a faithful at that point, I don't think we're going to let her get all the way there. But that's the group. So I'm very curious to see if they can start chipping away at them. Starting with who this murder ends up being, that Lisa Rinna is going to get someone to touch the brooch. I still, Zach, my suspicion was Johnny Weir, and I guess still kind of is. That I think that he could be somebody that, especially for the task itself, to get someone to be interested enough in somehow touching the brooch. I could see it being him.
Yeah, is there anything to the fact that, and this, obviously this doesn't apply to Johnny Weir, it feels like these murder in plain sights almost always fall on to are almost like always targeted at women. Isn't that strange? I feel like it's like the kiss of death was one, and like that was always going to hit a woman, and then this one, like, touch the brooch, like obviously Rob's never going to be wearing that, and I don't think many of the men here are going to like just go and like grab Lisa's shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there are some that would, but I really do think that like they do lean heavy on the kiss of death and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Even with my idea, Scally, the one that I said that, I think the only way that she can do it reasonably is say, hey, can you like put this back on for me? It fell off. Is she going to ask a man to do that? Maybe Johnny, but that's it.
I think maybe, but I do think that we had talked about a little bit of the perspective of this was always going to fall on one of the women in the turret, one of especially a housewife, etc. But I do think it almost is more likely as well for a woman, a gay man, etc., to be trusted with either, hey, don't you have interest in this brooch, or would you put this back on me? I think either is going to probably like leave the men of the castle safe.
Yeah. Zach, you have any other ideas? How would you, if you were the one that had to wear this, whether it's a brooch or whether it's some other article of clothing, how do you ask someone, hey, can you just touch this, fix this? People should be suspicious knowing that this kind of, especially with this banquet that's about to happen, something weird is going to go on, and don't touch anything. Don't look at anything.
Yeah. The get someone to touch my brooch. That's a really, that for me specifically is like a really difficult, murder in plain sight. I would definitely rest on the fact that they're gonna make sure it happens, and they're gonna make it the longest night ever, to ensure.
Yeah.
I probably would. You can't have that many conversations about like jewelry. See, okay, so if it's a brooch, I'm just screwed. I just can't do this one. So let's imagine that it's like a hat or something.
Sure. It's a watch.
If it was a hat or something, I'd probably like I don't know, a watch. Sure. How do I get?
Hey, is the time right on this? Can you fix the time? Like, I don't know. Look, I'm sure there's creative.
All right. If I gotta get like a watch, I would probably first of all compliment anyone else that has a watch. 2, maybe I'd like have I'd have a drink, and then I would spill the drink on myself, and I would be like, oh my god, and I would let someone else maybe like clean me off. I think that could be a path, but if no one does, then I'm just sitting there like wet for the rest of the day. And then maybe I would break the watch. I would like, and then they'd be like, oh, I stopped working. I spilled water all over. And I think there'd be at least one guy. I'd be like, oh, let me take a crack at that,
And it's the one you didn't want to murder.
Yeah.
Does it have to be a targeted brooch touch? Like, can you just go in for a hug and it's on your chest? Like, what's acceptable?
Skin to skin. So Colton might be an easy kill with that.
That's true.
That's true.
Bedazzled, beaded, whatever he's
wearing. Colton, bring it in. We can still be friends, and then they go in for the hug, and it's like, touch the skin. The skin is pretty exposed right now.
You know what I do think would be a really fun murder in plain sight style episode?
Tell me.
I think you brought up like the goose duck bomb. I think something like that would be really fun, where you started off with basically the traitors choose one person who will start with the bomb, whatever it is, like something that they have to like just have throughout the night. Maybe it's a drink, something that would be like natural, but something that you can like pass off to someone else, a flower, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's passed off to the next person, that person is notified essentially, hey, like you just got the kiss of death. And then you have to pass it off, and you have like basically the nighttime, and whoever ends up with it at the end is the one who is murdered for that night.
So I guess the challenge would it be that people could very quickly say, "Oh, well, Lisa gave me this. Lisa's the traitor," and then she's just caught.
The idea would be that the traitors in the turret choose which faithful will start off with it.
Oh, okay.
So the
So what happens
faithful,
if
and then it's a lot of and maybe you make some rule where it's like, and this could actually be kind of cool. Once you've given the flower off, you go to bed for the night, like you are out. So that there's no, that way there's no like, hey, I just gave the flower, like whatever. But that it could really end up being this hot potato murder in plain sight, where it's the faithfuls kind of choosing who to murder.
Yeah.
And then that would have been, can you imagine like the chaos of like Dorinda realizing that she was handed that by Steven.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden she's coming back because she managed to pass it off to someone else, knowing that Steven had handed it to her. And also, like, maybe if a traitor, well, that's the thing. I don't know if a traitor.
What happens if a traitor ends up with it? Yeah, that's tough. Because
if a traitor ends up, you know what? The traitor will never end up with it because the traitors know that if you grab that, you're dead. So if a traitor takes it, then they go home. Sorry, you suck.
They did do something along the lines on this most recent season of Traitors Canada, where they ended up like giving away 4 shields during the missions that had to be given to someone else, and then the traitors also had a secret cursed shield that looked just like a regular shield that like they just had to give away before the end of the night. So the person who ended up thinking they were shielded from murder, only to be called in and said, "Oh, you thought you were shielded, but you are in fact going home. Taking that shield was what guaranteed your death."
Okay, that's pretty cool. That's like a different swing, but yeah, I to be honest, I didn't finish Traitors Canada 3, but
that's fair.
Yeah.
Understand.
I want to talk about the mission. We haven't, Scally, we haven't gotten there yet, of course. It was the Cabin in the Woods mission that we get to go out to this cabin every season. This one was not super strategy heavy. It wasn't as interesting last week. Of course, we had the dilemma: are people going to take the shield or not? Ultimately, nobody took the shield, which, by the way, Zach, any surprise that nobody took the shield? They made it seem like people might have done it.
Not necessarily with this group.
Yeah,
very faithful. they're very not wanting to get in trouble.
Especially just the lack of privacy last week, I think, just made it almost completely impossible. And I think they kind of put them in a better situation here, where you at least could be in a group of 2. There could have been some secrecy to it. Except when Alan is apparently going to announce to the group if someone did take a shield, and it comes out very quickly. Like, why?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, as far as the campiness of this show goes, what's more camp than literally a cabin that could be a campsite? We have everybody going into the cabin, very creepy cabin, a lot of fun special effects. You know that the team that puts together these challenges was having a field day setting this one up. I think, what this show comes down to for me, what puts the biggest smile on my face is just watching this group of kooky characters that they assemble for a season of the Traitors just have big reactions and do silly things like this. So while a lot of the missions for me in the past have tended to fall short of being any kinds of interesting, watching Dorinda lose her mind and scream at the top of her lungs because there's a woman in the corner of the room that's just like bleeding everywhere, it looks like, and screaming back and forth like that, Zach, I enjoy that.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think I enjoyed other versions of this Cabin in the Woods a lot better, and I'm sure we still will have like the escape room version of it where they get like covered in bugs and all that stuff. Like, those versions of it were a lot better to me than this one, which was just like them all sitting there and like essentially getting a riddle to solve. I thought the riddles were kind of fun.
Or hard.
Yeah, that what was it, Dolores and Dana and
Dorothy and Daphne and
Sure.
yeah, it should have been Dolores. We should have had some callbacks to past seasons. But yeah, it was like, he's older than this one by 3 years, and then this one's half the age of this one. And I literally sat
Larsa is
there.
at least 10 to 12 years older than Sandra, who is half the age.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that Marcus, which would have been actually true. Yeah, that was hard. I paused it to try to solve it, even though they already had solved it. Like in my, I was like, I'm too dumb for this. No, that's why I have Zach and Scally around.
I thought it was like fun and silly. I particularly enjoyed the hands reaching out of the graves, especially when they like run to try to like get everything. So like that was cute. But I think that as soon as they agreed, okay, no one is going to take the shield, it removed a little bit of interest where because hypothetically, if the pair in front of you does take the shield and then you also stand behind the shield, you are standing in that grave for no reason and thus giving up money for nothing. And so multiple teams could have given up the shield over and over and over. And I think that could have been interesting, but it becomes very straightforward when the majority of the group is like, yeah, if I get murdered, it's fine. We're not going to do the shields. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The setup that they did to allow there to be wrong answers. The first one that was, I don't remember exactly what the name was, but the fact that they had the wrong last name, but the wrong last name was on a stone out there, I thought was perfect. And the fact that we get to watch Candace and Tara go out there and stand at the wrong grave, they see the hand pop out and they're like, oh, the money's just over there. We got to go grab it. And
yeah,
pulled away from them. Very funny.
That was good. Yeah, that was a pretty sneaky thing they did. And I thought the riddles themselves were actually like fairly challenging, which I enjoyed. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it is a mission. It's not why I watch the Traitors. I can't imagine, like, I know that there are like people who watch Survivor and they're like, oh, I really just watch for the challenges. Like, the ones who like can't wait to see like Jonathan versus Ozzy and all that jazz, which to be fair, I also I can't wait to see that. That'll be fun. But I don't think that's the case for Traitors. Like, there's never going to be the person who's like, oh my God, yeah, like Dylan Efron, like what a challenge beast, like he really,
no, that's a YouTube
really
series.
impressed me.
I introduced one of my friends to Survivor, and it very much was like, oh, like they were robbed at the end. They won all the challenges. And I was like, I've created a monster. Like, what did I do? And so now I need to introduce him to the Traitors and see if the same thing happens.
Lisa Rinna's jacket. Can someone help me find it and get one? Just the long, big winter coat that has Rinna written on the back.
I see. I didn't even notice that. That's how
I did, and I was like, "Are these issued by the game?" And so, like, does everyone have their last name or
a jacket?
No?
Yeah. And then just again, Jam and Mora going out there, I thought was really funny. When Mora was like baffled at the fact that Jam was even considering taking a shield. She's in confessional, calling him a traitor. So. But I don't know. I enjoyed this one. Again, just the reactions were a lot of fun. Johnny Weir. Why was Johnny Weir dressed like he was going outside in 2020? Like he was covered from head to toe.
Great strategic move. You know that you're probably going to the cabin mission. Bring something that can cover you from head to toe so those bugs are not just sliding down the back of your shirt. The forethought from Johnny Weir, very good.
Seems very cold, and I don't know what the temperature's supposed to be there, but I know that they filmed in June. Like, is that cold there? I don't know how that works.
I thought it was very anticlimactic when at the end Ron, Rob, and Eric were all left over and they get called outside. There was going to be some type of twist, like, well, since no one took the shield, like you end up with the shield, or you have some dilemma that you have to answer. And instead was like, all right, see you back there.
What if they got to like choose one person of the three that got to pick a shield, and like at least there's a debate there, and like at the end of the day it wouldn't have mattered, because what probably happens is they probably are like, I'd assume Rob is like, all right, one of like, I'd assume that it would be Ron, Rob, Eric, someone would take it, and then they'd all agree, all right, we're not going to say who took it, and that way we all are protected. And then Rob wouldn't have killed any of them anyways, because he wouldn't have wanted to blow his cover, and so they all would have been safe in the end.
Yep.
Yeah, Zach, we of course talked about Ron a bit already, but the relationship again between Ron and Rob was highlighted in a big way this time around. Unfortunately for Ron, he's out of the game. Actually, maybe fortunately for Ron, he's out of the game. He didn't seem to be having too much fun, but of the connections that he made, this episode really highlighted the one with Rob. I wouldn't be surprised if come this fall when Rob Roush is on Dancing with the Stars, if we get a cut to his loved ones and Ron Funches is there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it very much gave winners at it, and who knows if that will actually be the case or not. But it's kind of that thing where you think about like in Survivor 46, right? When Ben is having all these issues with his panic attacks, and they're constantly showing Kenzie being the one who is coming and comforting him and like holding his hand at night.
Yeah.
And then in exit interviews, he's like, yeah, Kenzie did do that, but like so did Charlie, so did these other people. And it felt like with Ron's like very nice send-off where he's kind of like telling almost everyone what he appreciated with him. It did seem like there were more people, and now seeing on social media how Ron has been like getting love from some of his castmates and been hearting their messages. I don't think this was like just a Rob was the one guy who was like looking out for Ron. It felt like there were a bunch of other people, more so that Rob is the one that we want you to root for the most, who was nice to Ron.
I mean, this isn't the same thing, obviously, but you play, enough Clock Tower, you sit around the table like this, and when there's someone that is just so hard to ignore, whether it's because like you don't think that this person, you're on the good team and you think that this person is probably also on the good team, but you just can't get the conversation to be talked about anything else. Obviously, last week with Michael Rappaport was kind of a situation in itself, but this wasn't too different. Plenty of people were saying, we don't think that it's Ron, but still enough votes were on Ron that they just had to take him off the table. And they were saying, oh, well, we just need to get the information.
Yeah. It's a little, it's kind of like a pagonging in a weird way. That doesn't totally make sense, but Ron is the easy vote. Michael was the easy vote. Donna was the easy vote. It's these pariahs essentially that are getting just knocked out again and again and again. In these like kind of, this wasn't a unanimous vote because he actually really got close to getting Lisa out here. But that's at least how it's been swinging so far.
If we had Ron and Colton both make it through another episode, that would have been insane.
Yeah, I think this was the best case scenario of like, I was really expecting when Ron does go home, it's going to be a straightforward vote. It's going to be pretty boring, but like, no, this was an absolutely insane roundtable. Ron still goes home. So we keep the like bigger characters in the mix. Obviously, I have my preference on who would have gone home, but I'm sure that the producers were very happy with this result.
Yeah, I do think that if he had survived this round, I really do think that Ron actually had some longevity. I think that he had convinced enough people that come the next roundtable, it wouldn't be all on Ron. I think that Lisa would get exposed, right? And then I think that it would be this immediate response of, oh, traitor on traitor violence. Colton, how were you so sure that Lisa was a traitor? And then we would have seen that versus, whoever else was defending Lisa. And like the whole game would have been flipped right there if Ron had been able to survive that vote.
Do we ever see a traitor pull a Ron here? And like, all right, I'm going home, so I'm gonna just like use my time to talk about how much I love you all. And like, because we see murmurs of how it almost works for Ron. Is there ever a traitor who's just in too deep, they pull this move out?
That's fun. That's fun to think about. Look, like genuinely over the course of all of the different versions of the show right now that are airing, year round, every season I'm like, this is something new. We're still at the beginning of this game. And so things like that, I would love to see someone intentionally, I don't think it's this season, but someone that's watching the tape this season to be like, if I'm down and out and I have nothing left to play, people already know that it's me, then let me do the Ron. Let me look sad and let me connect with people and really play that social game, which Dorinda, was saying maybe it is about, who you do and don't like, just having those social connections with people.
Yeah.
We've seen over and over where the more you fight back, people will just say like, you're being defensive. And like, I'm always going to be defensive because I want to stay in the game, whether I'm a traitor or a faithful. But like the only way to truly disarm someone is to like, all right, you're right. Like now they don't know how to respond.
Yeah.
The one role I would love to see added to the traitors is some kind of like Tanner or whatever type role where you're trying to get banished and you make it only like
Dodo bird.
The dodo bird. The idea is you make it only exist for like the first 5 or 6 episodes, so that like this isn't something that like is a guaranteed thing and it's not going to impact the whole season.
Sure.
And you don't choose like a Michael Rappaport who's just gonna like take that and be like a jerk with it. But it would be so fun to see like the mental gymnastics, and you make sure people know that is in the game. The mental gymnastics that people could pull of, oh, it could be them. Oh, but what if they're playing that role? What if they're
Yeah.
trying to do it? Oh my God. Like and I think it would give the Traitors a lot more room to play bigger by having something like that exist in the early game, because there would be that constant suspicion of, wait, is this person playing big, or are they like trying to get the eyes on them?
It'd be really fun, considering you have to like risk about, and maybe if it's like you take home the prize pot, build up until that point.
There
If
has
you
to
get
be a
sent
punishment
home.
for the faithful for sending home a faithful, or the dodo bird, whatever they
Yeah.
want to call that. There has to be some kind of
And-
like monetary hit. Especially, look at how much they want this money in the prize pot. They are playing these challenges hard.
And
So
you
this
could
person
end
takes
up
the
with
money.
like a larger share of the money than you would otherwise as a faithful, winning with like 3 other people or something. And I think that if you then have to balance it against, like, if I don't get voted out by the 5th round table, then I become a regular faithful, and I'm still going to have all the suspicion that I purposely put on myself, and now I have to contend with that, and I might not win any money. So
I even think that you make it so that, like, hey, you've got 6 episodes on this show, and if you don't do it by then, like, you're just out, you know?
just get out. Okay.
Because that way there wouldn't be the screen time motivation of like, hey, like I really, it's more valuable to me to like stick around and like really try to win as a faithful in the end. You let them know, like, hey, you've got 6 episodes here, make the most of them, get as much screen time as you can, like play this to your heart's content. And I think if you got like the right person for that role, I don't know. I think that if there's any role to add into this thing, that would really mess things up.
And
I mean-
there might even be like, whether it be a certain housewife or some name who's like, I got 3 days to film. What do you got?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the role they get.
Oh, yeah, you put like New York or
Mooch.
someone there.
Yeah.
The mooch.
Mooch's,
Yeah, that's
Mooch's,
exactly the mooch.
twist or whatever the hell that was. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like,
Not
oh,
him, but the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Can we talk about Eric Nam for just a quick second here? Because him blaming Colton for his poor information was wild, and I don't think anyone talked about it enough after that all happened. He's like, well, Colton, you were the one who was really pushing it on to Tiffany, so that basically prompted me to give my information about the laugh. It's like, man, what are you doing?
That was the most I liked him all season. Is the way that he just completely like sidestepped that. I feel like we see that a fair amount on reality TV, where like a decision will be made. I think of like the Mickey and Morgan stuff from Big Brother last year, right? Where they make these decisions together, and then when it comes time to blame someone, all of a sudden Morgan is like, "Ooh, yeah, Mickey really like screwed up there." Like, "Oh, yeah." So no, I have no problem with Eric just being like, "Yeah, that Tiffany vote looked really bad for you, Colton."
Lisa was doing something similar. Obviously, Eric was on a whole other level of how much Colton influenced or didn't influence that round. But Lisa, using she was using Ron mostly to say, you're the reason that I voted for Portia, even though all this heat's on me now. So that's the game. Everyone's just pointing fingers at one another, blame each other. But I wanted us to make some random predictions before we get out of here. Just literally anything about this season. Looking ahead at the upcoming weeks, I don't know, someone that you think will get banished, somebody that you think will win the game, literally any category of something that you want to call your shot as to now. This season has been pretty predictable on some aspects. You knew that, once you saw that the gamers were under attack, the fact that Tiffany goes is not surprising. The fact that as soon as we see the clip of Monet clocking Lisa and Candace is going to spill it about Monet, okay, that's over. It feels inevitable that Colton's going to go. It feels inevitable that Lisa's going to go. But there's got to be some intrigue left, some things that we're not expecting. Anybody have one?
I got 2. One of them is that based on the interviews with Alan Cumming and everything that I feel like we've heard about this season, I think that this next episode is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Like, we're going to be like, oh my God, best season ever. Like, it's going to be like a true amazing episode, because they really, really are hyping up this banquet. And I'm excited to see it. And I think it's going to be worth the hype, because they are really, really emphasizing it. And then I think that the rest of the season is going to be kind of boring. I really don't think that this cast has the juice. I think they got rid of the one juice with Michael Rappaport. That's a Jew joke. I can say that. But for the audio listeners at home. But I really don't think this cast has it. I really don't think that there's enough entertaining people to really keep the entertainment going. And I'm worried because it seems like the entertaining people that are remaining are like not part of this massive alliance that is being formed that I could very easily see run the game. So I think that we're gonna have a bang and then a whimper.
Look, Mora is part of the alliance, and that is not somebody that we're going to group in by any means and say is a boring person. For anyone that knows Mora Higgins before this season, but I don't know. She didn't vote with them. She didn't vote with Johnny. A couple of them. Mark Ballas also didn't vote with Johnny Weir and the Colton plan this week. Mark and Kristen voting differently, I think, is just something to note. I don't think it's going to break them apart by any means, but there's a little bit of intrigue when they really just couldn't keep the votes together. I think that's what Tara was trying to do at the roundtable, to throw out there, when you are sending a message to your bad team when you're a bad player in one of these games. Like, there was a little bit of that to her good players of like, hey, everybody that was in on that plan, let's not vote Ron, let's vote Colton. And they didn't.
But you know what? Even if you take Mora out, which I 100%, I've never seen her in anything, but I'll 100% believe you that she's like a super exciting person. It's still Johnny, Tara, Steven, Eric, Kristen, Mark. I mean, Dorinda hasn't really given me anything thus far. Like, I mean, honestly, Natalie, I love Natalie. There's not been any like real moments from her yet. Like, I think that, which to me tells me that she's not a major player in this. Although, to be fair, Sandra didn't get that much screen time and she ended up making it to the top 5. I don't think Brittany got all that much screen time up to this point. And same thing with her. So Natalie totally could have some like deep fun run for what I'm watching this show for, and for like what made me love the past 2 seasons of the Traitors so much. I don't think this one has it.
Scally, any predictions?
Oh, it's tough. I think that Candace is going to end up getting a lot of suspicion on her very soon, unfortunately. I think that the defending of Lisa is going to come to light. I think the pushing onto Ron is probably going to also raise her profile a little bit there. So I'm very worried for her. And so I think Lisa and Candace going soon could mean a recruitment. And so I'm trying to pick out who I want to predict as a little bit. Of a recruited traitor, I feel like I'm going to go. I was going to go with we had talked about it a little bit at one point. I'm looking at Jam Jam. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think it's a possibility. I think it's someone who you could reliably think could get voted out before you. But do you want to give Jam Jam that much information? I'm not sure.
My prediction, I'll jump in here. I think Mora gets recruited.
I thought there was a possibility.
That's my hope. So I'm certainly just putting that out there into the universe. But I just feel like the Mora and Rob alliance, if Mora is not killed, in the night beforehand, which this one could be trouble if Lisa Rinna is like the sole person doing it. Even Candace was like, oh, whoever you think, Lisa, you go out and get that. I would imagine that, Rob is pushing her to not get Mora, but Rob is going to protect her throughout as much as he possibly can. And if he has an opportunity to, I think he's not looking at like, oh, let me pull in another traitor who is going to get banished. I think he's going to be looking for a good teammate to get to the end game with. And I think he would love to win this game with Mora. I think that they've had a good relationship and I would love to see it.
I think this alliance of 8 has 0 legs, but ends up kind of backing into being in the final 8. And so that's why we're seeing some of it now. I don't think that they are actually working that closely together. And there is some discussion, but I think they're never actually all on the same page. It just happens to be the people most likely to end up there. And I think that's why it's getting highlighted. So that will probably be my read on that. I'm going to go with maybe Johnny himself, the runner of this alliance, ends up getting recruited.
Yeah, and I want to give props to Johnny for making an alliance. Like, I think that, like, I obviously have the bias of the gamers or whatever. So, like, sometimes when these people are playing, it's easier to discount them. And, like, look, to make an alliance, to make a majority alliance, which sounds like absolute hell on the Traitors. And I couldn't want anything less than to watch a majority alliance just pick off everyone else on this show. That would kill me. But strategically, that is kind of interesting. I think if Rob is thinking most strategically, I think that he needs to choose a male traitor to pick up. I think that, like, we've seen, like, the gamer meta. There's always a gamer. There's always a housewife. I guess not last year. We have still yet to see in the US a season where it was all traitors of one gender. I think that Dan got really backed into a corner with that because there were so few guys remaining, and they were like, well, there has to be at least one male traitor.
Yeah.
And if Rob gets down to it, I could see a world where it's really like, listen, we haven't gotten a male traitor out yet. Let's start looking at the guys. So I think he needs someone that he can push ahead of him. I think Jam Jam is an interesting pick. I worry that Jam Jam is too opinionated when it comes to the turret. If I were Rob, I would almost rather pick someone that I think is going to have less of a say, like a Johnny or like a Steven. I think Steven honestly would be my pick, just as someone who like really is not going to wrestle any control away from me in the turret.
Yeah, I think this episode really showed us that Rob, while is thinking, along, I don't know, strategic lines or trying to be strategic within the game, he also still has a lot of personal elements that he brings into his decision making along the way. And while this was a little bit of both, it was personal because he liked Ron, for example, and I guess he likes working with Colton. I don't know. It was a little bit of both. He was saying on the strategic side, I can't vote for these guys because everyone knows that I'm close to them, not just because I'm close to them. So I could see a little bit more just overall personal coming into play of who he would want to pick than strategic, but it'll be a little bit of a mix of both, I think. And that's if he's the one that has to make the decision, but I think he will be.
Rob is such an interesting person to me because on one hand, I'm like, Rob knows how to make TV. And so even if he's not really that conflicted of like, oh, I really don't want to vote for Ron or vote for Colton because I'm just so close to them, like he knows how to sell it to a confessional. But at the same time, he's turning down things like Love Island Beyond the Villa, which who knows, maybe he just saw the writing on the wall and thought that wasn't a great opportunity. And so that's why he turns it down. But it's not like, I think Rob is desperate for every TV opportunity that gets put in front of him. So he's a very interesting character for me to read. And so that's what makes predicting his movements moving forward a little more difficult.
Or you think of Rob at the was it the Andrea or Andrea vote at his Love Island season, right? He'll throw up his hands and be like, I'm out. You got 2 for 1. I'm done. But then at the end of the day, when it comes down to like making that decision, he's like, nah, I'm gonna stay.
Yep.
You know,
I would love to see him go into one of those emotional reactions that he had on that season, but it feels like he fortunately or unfortunately is playing this one a little bit too smart in some ways. That won't happen again. I think he probably genuinely learned from that mistake on Love Island. Not that it was a mistake. I mean, it was such a big moment, and it's part of the reason why he ends up on this season. But yeah. Also, by the way, Scally seems to be frozen, but I'm sure he'll rejoin us when he refreshes.
Yes.
But Zach, final thoughts here. I want to get any from you on the eliminated players so far. Obviously, you got to start with Rob, the devastation of watching him go out, but on anybody that's gone out so far, any thoughts about those weeks and eliminations?
Yeah, it was sad for me to watch Rob go because obviously he was my main rooting interest. That being said, I've also watched myself lose reality TV, and I've watched my brother lose reality TV, and I just watched Omer lose reality TV. And like part of being on one of these shows I've learned is that like you just get to watch your friends lose over and over and over and over again. So like I'm a pro at that now. So I was, I was more so just happy that we got Rob on there, and I think he's a lock whenever he wants to do his next show, whatever it is. I think that people took notice of the fan reaction to him and how beloved he is. Ian, just bummed to see him play. I'm honestly shocked they chose him. I think that he was a really left field Traitors pick anyways, because he's not like this big personality and he's not like this iconic strategist, right? He's like this underdog. So very interesting choice there that I'm just bummed we didn't get to see play out. And then Tiffany is one that I really think it was the wrong season for her. I really do think that she could have done so much better on a season that wasn't so targeted at the gamers. I think, unfortunately, everyone just saw Danielle as the centerpiece of last season and being the main traitor. And then they look at a woman of her same archetype from Big Brother come in. I think I would also be like, oh, well, that would make sense as a traitor, just purely based on that. And then if they watch Sari too and Phaedra, they have had an older Black woman be the traitor, strategist Black woman be a traitor every season. And I do think that like that bit Tiffany more than anything that she had done in the house itself.
Yeah, I mean, literally one season later, and I think that she gets a spot as a traitor because again, it's a slam dunk to make Tiffany Mitchell
Yeah.
a traitor. Like that is the person in the same way that it was a slam dunk to make Dan one and see what he can do. Give it to Tiffany, give it to Danielle, see what they can do. They are cast on these shows for a reason, especially after what we got to see Tiffany do. She wasn't cast on the challenge because I think that they thought she was going to win, but they should have been casting her on the traitors because they knew that she could win and pull off something like Suri did. So I hope to see it again. Is there any reason why we shouldn't feel like an all-star season will happen at some point? Like truly, we joke about it, we talk about it all the time. Like it's just every show does all-star seasons at some point.
I think that the Traitors UK has been like circling the idea, at least as the rumors. So I have no reason to think that it wouldn't happen here.
I think All Stars will happen. I think we're more likely to get a half and half season, which I actually would be even more of a fan of than just a full blown All Stars, because everyone is already a reality TV pro, and they've been so willing. They brought Kate back, they brought Dorinda back.
Yeah,
I could see a world where next season is 22 people, 11 of them are former Traitors contestants, and then 11 of them are like brand new reality TV, and I think that would be a really fun dynamic.
Turn it a little bit into the challenge where people can just pop in and out, and follow their journey.
Why not?
Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. Sometimes, but I don't know. I feel like it could be fun. All right, well, Zach, anything that we didn't get to today that you wanted to talk about from this round, from anything with this season at all?
Yeah, I want to throw in one final prediction that I just thought of.
Yes,
I think whether it's this season or just in terms of the filming of it, it might not work out for Traitor season 5. So let's maybe say Traitor season 6. I think we will see the Omarosa. There will be a civilian Traitors contestant that will then make such a splash that they are then chosen for the
That's
celebrity Traitors.
That's a
lock
really
that
good
in.
call.
I don't know if it'll work for 5 or 6, but like that will happen.
That's fun.
I mean, just the idea of even imagining, because how many times have I talked about, or I think generally people are talking about the success that can come out of the stardom from people on this show. And it's catapulting them to not just Dancing with the Stars, but just being in the mainstream more than they otherwise would have been. Nobody knew who Dylan Efron was beforehand. So to have the amount of people that still will watch the show, even if it's just, normies, I can definitely see that rising someone stardom from someone who just applied to they're on the next season of the Traitors, or maybe they themselves go on Dancing with the Stars. That's a fun thought.
No, I was gonna say that like the show has proven it can take someone from maybe the E or D list to the B list and sorry, the C list. And I'm wondering if you could take someone who's just completely off the radar at all and elevate them at least enough to put on the show. I think that's super interesting. Where we've seen what it can do for people who already had some sort of presence. What does the civilian season of the Traitors do in terms of public opinion? Do they blow up in the way that people used to be on reality TV did?
If nothing else, lock someone from that cast in for Love Island season 9.
Oh,
sure.
Season 8 will be this year. Season 9 will be next year after the season of the civilian season has aired, presumably. It's Peacock to Peacock, and they literally took Aaron from Traitors UK over to Love Island US.
Yeah,
they're gonna do it.
We'll see.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And then in terms of the season as a whole, I'm still enjoying it. I think that like truly this is just not a season for me. I guess this was more of just like last season was the season for me. This season seems clearly like intended to be more for the housewife love show fans, which is fine. I'm still enjoying it. But yeah, I do think that the Traitors will someday have to confront this problem of the best strategy being to just sit there and say nothing and then be Lord Ivar at the end. And until they solve that, I do think that it is going to have diminishing returns.
And also, Zach, you would like Housewives.
I do. I like Salt Lake City.
Oh, perfect.
I'm not like a regular watcher. I'm much more of a like clips and moments. They got to have one of the Salt Lake City girls on there. I mean, that is crazy. We haven't had it.
Booked and busy and popping right now. It's just they are too successful for their own good.
But the Traitors is the Traitors. I mean, they got Lisa Rinna on. They got like,
I mean, I hate to ask you this question while Scally is frozen, but who would you want? Who would be your picks from Salt Lake City?
I think I think Lisa and Meredith are the two that speak to me as the most.
Meredith at a
will
round table.
Yes, yeah, will give me the most what I want from a housewife on the Traitors. And I think Bronwyn would be fun too.
I think Mary's been one of the most rumored. People always say
Mary
before
would be
season
fun.
films that Mary's always the name that's flying around. I feel like it, as far as I can tell, will not work anytime soon because, and I could be totally wrong about this, but I think that the filming schedule of when they film Salt Lake City tends to be around the same time. So
Mm,
I think that's where people got Mary's name at one point because she was
yeah.
back on Salt Lake City after like taking a season off of being a main cast member there, but whatever. Well, I think Scally will rejoin us one more time before we close out here. But Zach, where can people find you online if that's a thing you want people to do?
Sure, you can find me at Zach Wirt on any social media platform.
Looking forward to the
And
Survivor.
what was it?
Looking forward to Survivor, and you
Yeah,
have been
I
tweeting
really
much
think
lately.
that I really think this whole year has just been me watching people I know play. It was literally Traitors Canada into Amazing Race, into Traitors, into Survivor 50. So it's just like nonstop. 50, I will say I'm now the most excited for because it's like, I mean, Survivor is Survivor at the end of the day. I think it will be, regardless of what happens, a super fun season. But yeah, I'm just rooting for my people on that one.
Like I said, I feel like you're tweeting less these days. So are the thoughts just sticking in your head, and we're not going to get them ever anymore, or any
It's because I'm on
platforms
the
you can?
West Coast. So the issue is
Okay,
that like there's not like the ability for me to live tweet anymore.
sure.
Because I'm then watching, and that's like that's really where the money is, in the live tweeting. But I gotta retrain that muscle because I had one tweet idea that I wanted to tweet, but then I decided not to because Colton was kind of right this episode.
Oh,
It was that gut feeling you have, Colton, is diarrhea.
oh,
Get it? Because it's like a gut feeling.
yeah.
Yeah. But he was right. So it was like he was right about Lisa.
You think Colton might have eaten something funny in the castle?
Maybe. But also then Peacock just told me not to bully Colton anymore. So now I'm
Sure.
not gonna do that.
Hey,
Yeah, I'm gonna heed their warning.
say it in a tweet, say it in a podcast. If we're not tagging the person, I think we're okay to make
Yeah.
jokes about.
And here's the thing. Like, you should never send hateful, creepy messages to Colton that he wouldn't send himself.
Well, define that one. But on that note, I think that's going to do it for today. Scally may not join us back in time before we close this out here, but that's okay. So Zach gave us plugs. Make sure you're following him. Hopefully we'll get some good tweets throughout the Survivor season or the rest of this Traitor season. And I don't know, Zach, if there's ever a world that you can end up on one of these shows, I would love to watch. I think we all would to see you out there. It would be a lot of fun. You certainly have the mind for these games. Watching you on Clock Tower is always a joy. You get worked up anytime that anybody lies. So a season or a show that's all about lying to one another generally would be a lot of fun to watch you on.
Yeah,
So.
I think there's a time and place, and I have no problems with the Traitors lying. I just think the Faithfuls maybe it makes sense for them to keep it 100.
Well, we'll see if you ever get out there and we can watch you shame the lying faithfuls in action. But
Thank you. Yeah.
that's gonna do it for now. Make sure you guys are subscribed to us here on YouTube. If you are watching us on YouTube, if you're not, go check out the YouTube. We of course have plenty more coming up later this season or throughout the season of the Traitors. We're rewatching the challenge. We're over on Patreon every single week with bonus episodes. Everything we do goes up ad-free over there. Make sure you're following Scally on Twitch and Letterboxd and wherever else he is active on social media these days. But yeah, that's gonna do it. I'm on the Diary Room podcast as well, talking all things Big Brother. Almost at the end of the round, Zach. That's coming up very soon.
Yeah, but don't you then have like 20 million more rounds to go?
Yeah.
Like, isn't this just
the end of round one?
Right. Yeah. This is just going to be the never-ending podcast. Like
it just about. We cut the entire field of Big Brother players in half in round one. So just keep cutting that in half, and eventually you get a winner. So
what do you mean you cut the entire field in half?
Well, we had started with.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like not round one is in podcast one. Round one is in the past like 2 years.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So like half of the players of Big Brother are now still in the running to be the best player of all
Oh my
time, according
God.
to us. And Zach, who popped in for an episode over there. Hopefully we'll
Yeah.
do that again sometime. But that's it for today. We'll be back very soon. Thank you, Zach, so much for joining us today on behalf of Scally, who's frozen somewhere in the internet somewhere right now. Take care, and we hope to see you all in the future.